Hello and welcome. This is Randy with Excel for Freelancers, and in today's part 2 of the attachment training, we're going to be showing you additional features where we can add icons for Word, for Excel, for PDF, and one for different pictures. We're also going to show you how to open up a specific file directly from the Excel, and we're going to show you how to automatically filter customers based on the selection. Okay, so stay tuned. It's going to be a great training. Okay, let's get started. And in review, in the past week, we went through Attachments 1 video, and we'll go ahead and review that now. In the Attachments 1, basically what we did is we gave the user the ability to add attachments for any particular customer simply by selecting a option, a button, and then selecting preview, and then entering it. And there were no previews on PDFs, and you were able to have previews only on pictures, and we gave the user the ability to delete the pictures. And so that was pretty much it. Those with JPEGs had the ability to view the picture, but anything other than that did not. And also those attachments were also stored in their original location in the attachments folder. Okay, so that was, if you didn't catch Attachments Part 1, please go back and view that, whether in YouTube or Facebook or another. It should be very close by, so you can go ahead and pull that up, and the workbook as well. So we'll close that off now, and we'll focus on the Attachments 2. In the Attachments 2, we've added several features. We've added 2 more buttons. One gives us the ability to open the particular file simply by clicking here, and it opens up the actual file. Whether it's a picture, a Word document, or Excel, it'll actually open it up. And the other one is to filter. We may have many attachments from many customers, but when we click here, it will actually filter out all of the other customers except the one selected. So in this particular one, we had customer ID 1023, so all of their pictures. Since in the customer file we can store a maximum of just 8 files, you may have 20 or 30 per customer, and selecting this gives us the ability to view all of the attachments for a particular customer. And we've also added the Clear Filters button. When clearing that, we'll show all the customers. And one other feature we're going to go over is we have given the user the ability to store their attachments in a specific folder so that all of the attachments are stored in a new. So we don't upset the original location of the file, and we're actually using VBA to copy over that to a specific folder. And if we browse here, we will see we have set up different in my Attachments 2 folder. You can see there's different customers here, and our VBA is going to actually create those folders if they don't exist based on the customer name, and then going to put different files in there based on the information. So let me go ahead and show you how that's done. All right, let's go ahead and see how these features are implemented here. Back into the customer sheet we go. And the first of which is to view. This is a relatively simple macro, and basically all we want to do with this macro is to just simply click on it and open it up, and that'll open up whatever document we have selected. And to do that, we'll go into the VBA editor. Under the Developers tab, you'll see the Visual Basic button here. You can also press Alt F11. If you do not have the Visual Basic viewable in the Developers tab, you can get to the Developers tab simply clicking the File and then Options, and then under the Customize ribbon you will see the Developers option. Make sure that option is checked. Okay, into VBA we go, Alt F11, and this brings up our VBA editor. And here we have some macros here that we've titled, some of which are from the Attachments 1, and we've added a few others to that. So let's go ahead and pull up some of the attachment macros. We have the one that displays the thumbnail, which we're going to go over. We have attachment to delete. We have the refresh, which we went over before in the last one, and we have attachment add. In the set folder and filter, we have the browse to attach the folder. Okay, we have the open an attachment, and this is the one that we're going to go through right now. And this is a very, very simple macro, and let's go over that. This is done in actually one line. Okay, and basically, as you'll know from the attachments 1, what we've done is we know that the row, okay, we know that the row from the original attachments database is here. Okay, so if we are going to open this Office document about us, we know this is in row 7. Okay, that row is brought over here, right? So that row, so we know the row. Okay, so if we know the row, it's stored, right? And we know the column G, right? So we know the row, we know that file location here is in G7. So all we need to do is locate that file, okay, that file path, and then we just simply open it up, and we can do that with the macro. So that's what we've done here. Sheet 1, K, and active cell value. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at that. This is sheet 1, this is column K, and the active cell, that means the cell that the row that you've clicked. So we've clicked on row 5. Okay, K5 is 7. K5 is 7. Okay, now we've got that 7. Now all we need to do is add G to that. So we've done that already. Let's go ahead and go back into the macro. Now we see K and active. So this here, as long as that does not, what we're basically is running a test. We want to make sure that's not empty. Okay, the reason we run that test is if for some reason a user clicks on empty row like this, in this case it's empty, right, and then they try to open up a file, it's not going to allow them. Okay, so we want to make sure that that doesn't cause a bug. If we were to select on a blank row where there is no database row, we want to make sure that we've accounted for that. So we have in this. So we're saying if it's not empty, all right, then do the following. Then all we're going to do is this workbook, follow the hyperlink. Follow hyperlink is just as good. It can be used for websites. It can be used for file paths in your specific computer. Okay, sheet 2, right? This is our attachment database. G, remember that's G, that's the column that holds our file path, plus sheet 1, K and active cell. This is 7. Remember, this value is 7. K and active cells, so G7. So all we're doing is opening up G7, right? And that value is the pathway as I had showed you. So that's a very simple one-line macro. And then all I have done, right, is open attachments. All I've done is assigned that macro to that button. So I've taken this little shape here and assigned the macro to it, okay? And actually it's a group, so it doesn't show up. But let's say we double click inside here. Okay, now we right click because there's actually 2 shapes, and we click assign macro. We can see that open attachments has been assigned. Okay, it's been assigned. So it's actually not assigned to the group, but assigned to the components of the group. Okay, which is fine. You know, that's the way Excel handles it, but it's no problem. So when you click it, when you select the line and you click, let's go ahead and open this picture and click open, then the picture is going to open up. All right, so it's very simple, and it doesn't matter what the file is, whether it's a PDF, whether it's a document, pretty much it's going to open regardless of whatever it is. So it's a really, really handy way to get very, very quick access to any type of document. So it's very, very helpful. All right, so great, glad we showed you that. The next up is a filter. Remember what we've done? We've clicked here, and this filters out all of the other customers, right, and just allows the customer that you've selected. In this case, customer number 1023, we're filtering. And let me go ahead and show you how we've done that within the VBA module as well. Okay, and let's go ahead and run to that macro here, and that is, I believe, under the customer load, sort, set, folder, and filter. Okay, here we have the view all customer attachments. Okay, view, that's the macro that we're running. Basically, we're going to set the customer ID as a string because it may or may not be numbers, so we want to set it as a string, and then last row as long, right? Because we need to go, when we do the filter, when we run the filter, I need to know what the last row is. I want to filter. Let's go ahead and clear those filters. I want the last row. I want to know what that last row is because I'm going to run that filter on everything. I don't want to run it on any more than what I absolutely necessary. So I know that filter is going to run from D4 through H10. D4 through H10. I'm going to run that filter right there. Okay, that's what I want to filter. And so we need to get that last row. So we'll do that. When we run filters, we want to make sure we clear any previous filters. And I've created a macro right above here, basically that sets the auto filter mode to false. And what that does is it clears the filter, okay? One line clears all the filters on the sheet, so it's really easy. So first we're going to clear the filters. Second, we're going to get that customer ID. I need to know the customer ID because I need to know what we're going to filter by. And that customer ID is if you remember on Attachments 1 video, it's stored in sheet 1, B15. So that is where our customer ID is stored. Every time we select a customer, okay, customer ID is right here, okay, B15. So every time we select a customer, a different ID shows up. So when we've selected it, 1023 is the customer number, so that's the one we will be sorting by. So we need to know that. That's very important because we need to know the differentiating factors so that we can filter properly. And then it's very simple. With sheet 2, we want to make sure we're activating it, okay? So we're going to activate the sheet. We're going to get the last row using this very common system line of code that I have. Basically, we're going to go use D. D is the column in which is going to be most likely always having a value in it. So we're going to use D as the column because D is the customer ID column, and that's the one that will always contain, actually they should all contain values, but when you run some tables, not every field will be full, so we want to make sure we use a column that always has values in it. And in this case, that's column D. So we're going to use column D to get the last row. Okay, and so that helps us in the VBA. And nextly, we just run the filter. So D3, remember that's the top left corner of our tree, and that includes the headers. Okay, 3, we always want to include your headers. Okay, include the header here. Okay, in 3. So next up is H and the last row. This just tells us what is the range. Okay, we know the last row. Auto filter field 1. Why is this field 1? Because in this case we are going to filter by the first column in the table. If we wanted to do a filter by type, we would use field number 3. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, it's just count. So that's the field that we're going to be using the filter by. And what is the criteria? Equals customer ID. Okay, equals customer ID. So this means it's going to be an exact match, an exact match. In this case, we want to match that ID exactly. But if you're running a filter, let's say you want to run a filter on names, right? You would put, and you didn't need an exact match, you weren't sure, you'd put a star here, okay? That means anything before, right? And, okay, parentheses, star. Okay, what this would mean, if you did this, if you ran this kind of filter, it means anything before or anything after. It doesn't have to be an exact match. But for our cases, we do want an exact match. Okay, so that's very important. And that is all that is required in this attachment. It's a very simple macro, and it runs very quickly and smoothly. The other macro is all we've done is clear the filter, and we've assigned that macro to this button here. Right click, right, assign macro. And you see clear filter. So all I've done is assign this macro right here to this button here, and that's simple. So when we clear those, it clears it. Okay, and when we run it, let's see, we run the macro, and we're going to view it, and then it shows up 1023, and then you can tell these items in blue, so we know the filter. And this is a filter that's in place, not an advanced filter. It's a standard filter, and you'll notice here that you can see the filter's been run and it's been set at 1023. Okay, so there's only two other options. If you wanted to change it, you could, but that clears it. So it's a really, really simple way of automating it. Okay, the next up is our folders. Now in this case, what I wanted to do for attachments number 2 is I wanted to set a specific folder where all attachments are going to be held. So we'll go ahead and browse this, and what I've done here is I've set attachments 2. I've created a folder, and I want all of the attachments stored in here, and I want them stored by the customer name. Okay, so I've set this attachments 2 as our default folder. Okay, this is our default folder. That means every attachment we add is going to be stored in that folder. So let's go ahead and click on Alex Sampson. He has no attachments, right? And if you look in this folder here, his name is not in here. Okay, in attachments 2, we only have two people. We have David and we have Fred. Okay, so let's say we want to create something for Alex. We're going to go ahead and add a file. All right, and we'll click on, let's just say, this Word document, and click OK. And now if we look in that folder, we see Alex Sampson here, right? And you'll see that document is in there, attachments 1 transcript. You see I've added that in there automatically. So let's go ahead and see how that is done. All right, let's go over this step by step so we can see how this has been done. All right, in the VBA model remember we have stored the main folder here under F1. Okay, that is the main folder, so we want to make sure that we know that location under F1 of sheet number 2. All right, into the folder picker macro, here we go. Let's go ahead and go into the attach macros here. We've made adjustments to this particular folder, so let's go ahead and see how we add to this macro. Now in this particular one, we've defined the destination file folder is in sheet 2 F1. Okay, so that is going to be our folder that we're going to use as the default folder, and we want to make sure that this is not empty. Okay, so we're going to say if it's empty, we're going to send them a message box. We're going to say, before attaching any files for this customer, please select a dedicated folder to store the individual contact folders and files. So basically we're saying if the user has left this empty, we would not know where to store those files. So we want to make sure that we go to that and we do browse. We do send the user to browse for this attached folder into this macro. So that'll run automatically if that field has been left blank. All right, next up we have the customer ID. We've defined previously before the customer ID as in sheet 1 B15, and that's important as well. And the customer name here as well. We've defined that as in sheet 1 E and sheet 1 B12. Now sheet 1 B12 is the actual customer row, and let's go ahead and take a look at that so you see where that is coming from. Okay. Into sheet 1 B12. That's going to tell us what the row of the customer. So we know in this case the row is 23, right? 23, and that's the row we've selected. What we want to do is we want to get that customer name, right? And we know that if we know the row is 23, we know the column is E, right? Simply E23 is going to tell us our customer name. Okay, so we want that customer name because we need to either A, create a folder if there has been no folder created. Okay, so that customer name is important. So we're going to say the customer name is sheet 1E and then the sheet 1 B12 value, which in this case is 23. So E23 is going to tell us our customer name. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set the file folder. And this is going to open up that dialog. Remember on attachments 1, we had also used this same one. And this one we're going to use file picker. Okay, we'd gone over this before. And this is going to basically say with the file folder, we want to get the file. We want to get whatever they want to put in to the customer. We want to get it. So we went over this in the attachments 1, and basically all this does is it opens the dialog and allows us to select a specific file. Okay, and this here star dot star tells us that they can select any type of file. We went over that already. Okay, and then also in the last video we have gone over a few of the destination file paths, and we'll go over that here as well. Okay, and basically in this folder we're going to say we need to check, does this customer folder exist? If it doesn't, create it. If it does, skip it. So the destination folder, okay, is the main folder plus the customer name. Okay, so it's saying, does this exist? In this case, right, what we're asking for is, let's say Alex, right? We're saying this is you see this entire file name? We're saying, does it exist? If this doesn't exist, so this is what it is the main file, okay, plus the backslash, plus the name. Does that exist? Okay, if it doesn't, create it. So that's what we want to do. Okay, we're saying if it's 0, that means if it equals 0, that means it doesn't exist. Then we need to make a directory, mkdir, that is make directory. And what directory are we going to make? We're going to make the destination folder plus the backslash plus the customer name. Okay, if it does exist, we don't need to make it. Okay, good. So now we know the destination file path. That means the complete path of where we're going to put that file is the destination folder plus the customer name plus the file name. Okay, so that's all we need to do. Okay, now we've got the destination. That is the full path. Okay, and that full path, let's just go over that again. That full path in this case is this here. We don't need to open that up. Is this right here, this full file path plus this file name here. In this case, plus this full file name. That is the full path. Okay, so we're saying now all we're going to do is we've got the destination file path. Now we're going to use this file copy. Okay, the original file path, we've got that from here, right? Original file path. When we browsed for the file, we've stored that original file path right here. So we're going to say file copy. What do you want to copy? We want to copy this. Where do you want to copy it? We want to copy it right here. This is a very simple yet very, very powerful. File copy, original file path, destination file path. All it does is make a copy. We don't want to delete the original location. However, if you did, you could do that. Let's say we wanted to remove the original location and only keep the destination. We could do this, kill, okay, and then original file path. Okay, that would delete, that line right there would delete the original file path so that we only have the destination. But in our case, we're going to keep it. So I'm going to go ahead and just include this for you. Okay, and I'm going to put something like, if you want to delete the original file in the original location. Okay, so you can work on that. So that way, if you need that, if you need it, you just uncomment that out, and that will kill the original. That will, they say kill, but in actuality, it's a little hard, a little brutal, but well, it works. Okay, so in our cases, we don't want to do that because I want to show you the full power. But you have that ability, and I'll give that to you if you wanted to remove the original location. So you could do that. Okay, so next up is pretty much the same as we had in attachments once. All we're going to be doing is taking all the information and storing it in the table here. Okay, all we're doing is taking all the information, putting the customer ID, the file name, the type, the path, and that row based on a formula. Okay, and that row is important because we need to bring that row over here. Okay, and now let's go over the ability to preview. Okay, and remember, I've added a little preview, something if there's no preview available, we can put no preview available, and I'll show you how I've done that. So back into the VBA model we go. And let's go ahead and view the original. And now we have attached display thumbnails. And if you remember in the attachments 1 video, we had the ability to only preview the file types of pictures. And we didn't do really anything if they were other than pictures. Okay, but I want to give you the ability to just put a little bit of an icon there. And I want to do icons whether it's a Word document or whether it's a PDF or whether it's an Excel. Okay, so that way, and if it's nothing, if it's something other than that, I want to store something like no preview. And the way we've done that is I've created basically these little shapes here, pictures, okay, and they're all stored in, you can see they're all stored here. Okay, let's go ahead and slide this over. So except they're not shown. You'll see the Excel is here, right? We have no preview, okay, here, and they're all going to be here. And the PDF is here. It doesn't really matter what locations because we're going to move them. So they're somewhere around here. Here they are. Okay, it doesn't matter because when we display them, we're always going to set the exact location. So it really doesn't matter where they are. Okay, and so they're here, right? And your reason, why do we have 2 Excels? Well, the reason is because our current preview is thumbnail picture. So the idea here is this. When we come to an Excel, okay, we take this, we duplicate it, and then we put it here. Okay, and that way, the reason we duplicate it is that we can delete this one. I can delete it, you know? So we delete that, but we always have the original file so that when we come across another one, we can just automatically restore it again. You know, so all we're doing is making a copy of this and then placing that copy here. And then the new copy always has the same name, thumbnail pic. This way, when we delete it, we know exactly the one to delete, right? Even if it's PDF, right? If we click on a PDF, right? You'll see PDF also has a thumbnail picker because we always delete the current one and copy this one, copy whatever we want and place it here. And these are always hidden, right? Normally these are always hidden, so we don't need to see those, right? They're in the background, they are copied and put. So that is how it works on the front end. Let me go ahead and show you how we do that on the back end. All right, into the VBA model we go. And we've had this macro before in the attachments 1. However, we've added a lot to it. Okay, previously we did have the if the file type is JPG, PNG, GIF, or JPEG, then we do want to set it as a picture, and nothing has changed here in the ability to add a thumbnail picture. I did add one little a bit to this particular macro, a few words down. Here under file type, we have under file type we have lowercase. I've added this, and basically if the file type is in uppercase, it may not be viewed. Like if it's JPG in capitals, it may not be viewed as a picture. So what I've done is I've just made, regardless, I've made them all lowercase to make sure that the file type is always lowercase so that it can be properly recognized. So I did add that. Okay, so basically if the file type is not one of these, then we have other choices, and we've done that under else. Else, right? Then we want to know what is the file type. And we can use our select case. And remember, select case is a very, very powerful tool in Excel VBA. And it's basically like a if-then statement multiplied as many times as you want. So basically we're saying in select case, file type. If the file type is XLS, XLSX, XLSM, or XLSB, then we want to make sure the thumbnail type, this is a string, thumbnail type is Excel. If the file type is PDF, then the thumbnail is PDF. So I've done this for each type, and in fact you could expand on this. You can do additional file types if you simply just by adding additional cases in here. Case, you could do anything from, like, let's just say MPG, right? Or MOV, right? So if you wanted to add a icon for movies, you could do that there as well. So you can add on, there's an unlimited, I believe there's unlimited to the case, so you could add your own as well. Okay, so once we have defined the thumbnail type, once we have defined this under Excel, PDF, Word, right? And then we can go ahead and run those shapes. Now remember I showed you we had a shape called Excel thumbnail, and that's always been hidden. It's not visible, but it's there, right? So what I want to do is I want to duplicate that with this line of code. If the thumbnail is cell, duplicate that. So remember, let's go back and review again. Here, basically, I want to take this, and I want to duplicate it, okay? Even though it's hidden, I want to duplicate it, right? And duplicate in Excel is Control D, right? So all we're doing is duplicating that, okay? So the same thing in VBA, just duplicating that in VBA. And and then what I want to do is I want to assign a name to that. And in fact, we could probably, what I want to do is I want to assign this Excel thumbnail, the new one, right? We're going to give it a name of thumbnail pic, right? Because when we delete it, when I delete it, I don't want to delete additional ones. I only want to make one delete. So always the thumbnail, because one thumbnail picture is only going to be displayed at one time, then we only need to delete one. And if they always have the same name, we know which one to delete. So it's very easy, right? When we display the thumbnails, we always just need one line of code to delete any current one. If there's a current one, we're only going to delete it. We always know the name. So that makes it a lot easier if they always have the same name. So we we duplicate it because we don't want to delete the original because we need the original. So we duplicate it and then we give it the same name. So we've done that for each of the types, whether it's Word, Excel, PDF. And now let's say it's not one of those. If we've gone through all of this and the thumb type is still empty, then what I've done is I've created a there's no preview. Remember we saw that. Let's go ahead and go over that. No preview thumb. Let's go ahead and find out where that is buried. Let's zoom out. There it is, way over there. All right, let's move that up. Okay, so I've created this little picture that says no preview available, right? And I've just stored it anywhere. It doesn't matter because normally it's hidden, right? Normally it's hidden. And so and we can hide this too, and we'll keep this one. So I've created that, so that means if there's no preview available, then show this one, right? And the same thing, change this one name. So that's if it's empty, right? So you can create your own. You know, maybe you don't like mine because my designing skills are terrible, so you'll probably want to change that. So you can do that as well. Okay, so then we're going to say, now duplicating it, remember, these are all hidden. PDF is hidden. The Word, they're all hidden, and the reason they're hidden is because we don't need to see them. We don't care about the placement. So then we just need to make, even when you duplicate it, it's still hidden. If the original is hidden, then the duplicated version is going to be hidden. So we want to make sure that it's visible, right? Once it's visible, then we're going to go ahead and place it as we did in Attachments 1 at J3. We're going to move it over a little bit to the left, a little bit over the top, and we're going to place it exactly where we want to. This way, regardless of when we move it, when we select it, it's always going to end up in the same place. Okay, so it's nice. So we can move it so that way, regardless of where it is, once it gets deleted, right? Then, and you'll see that if you look here, thumbnail pick, right? You see it's always got the same name, doc thumbnail pick. You see, they always have the same, so deleting it's very easy. Okay, so that's how we do that. I believe we've gone over all of the new features. I hope you do like them. And once again, this is where I roast, but I would expect you to move this or hide this, right? If this was something that I'm going to be dispersing, I'll probably move it to column B, right? If we're not using it, I would move it to column B, or I would hide it simply by changing the font color and hiding it like this. But for our purposes, I'll go ahead and leave it black just so you can always see it, but you really don't want to see these row numbers. Those are meant to be hidden or moved, okay? So keep that in mind, but for our purposes in this testing, it's nice to have them there. That is the Attachments 2 video. I hope you have liked this training. Anything we did not cover in this particular training has already been covered in the Attachments 1 video, so you make sure you see that as well and download that workbook so you can have both workbooks and compare, because we did go over lots of features like the advanced filters here, and we did go over the selection, and so we went over a lot of other things in that video as well. So I wanted to make sure we covered the new stuff in this video. All right, thank you so much for joining me on this training, and please share and like the video as much as you can. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.